is the form of transit that we could implement, or the forms of transit that would most effectively contribute to improving mobility in this region and at a cost that is most cost effective for taxpayers?
Right, yeah, thanks, Ron. And those of you who have seen some of my other presentations know I sometimes come with one that shows the population density of Atlanta and point out Atlanta's the least dense major metropolitan area in the world with more than 3 million people. Of course, Atlanta now has a lot more than 3 million people, but it still holds true. And for this reason, I'm a big fan of BRT, express bus, and local bus. Brief overview. Local bus are the buses you see that service local streets, sort of provide that last mile connectivity. Bus rapid transit is similar to heavy rail and light rail in that it typically operates in corridors that have, at least for Atlanta, relatively high density, relatively short distance between spacing, usually a quarter to half a mile, sometimes more, and have some connections to the environment in terms of land use, in terms of stations, differentiated from regular buses. I didn't have a picture in here, but I have one in the overall report that shows. Express buses are similar to commuter rail in that they take people typically from one suburban area to another suburban area or from a city to a suburb. And we already have a great foundation in terms of CERTA, in terms of GRETA, got my agencies confused here, and their express program for express buses, but that doesn't mean we have enough, and that doesn't mean they go all the places they could be. So yeah, those are the things we need to be considering. I'm actually fairly optimistic that maybe we are somewhat over considering some of these light rail lines that are not realistic for Atlanta and are very expensive. And again, for the cost of 3 light rail lines, you could have a whole network of BRT service, which would serve the entire metro area, not just the corridors lucky enough to be political contenders for rail. The BRT that I'm suggesting largely uses existing lanes. What it does is it uses, when it comes to intersections, which is the real choke point at those traffic lights, it uses the right turn lane and also what you saw in that BRT picture, which is the little pullout, so that it has priority over the cars at the intersection. So when it gets to that intersection, the general idea is, and more of this is in the report, but it can use this priority signaling to keep going or have a much shorter wait at the intersection so that it doesn't get stuck in the existing traffic. There are some corridors, although in Atlanta, I'm hard-pressed to think of some probably downtown, where because of the amount of transit and because of the relatively low number of cars that use it, you can have a dedicated lane for BRT. And that's fine. I'm not all sharing lanes, but in Metro Atlanta, right now, because transit ridership is so relatively low, and because ITS, the Intelligent Transportation Systems, are really what makes BRT, I think that the shared lane is the way to go. I will also add that I was in DC for a presentation from the Federal Transit Administrator, and as you may know, I don't necessarily agree with the Obama administration on all things transportation. And he said the most important thing to creating a successful BRT line is that priority signaling. More important than a dedicated lane. That's not my words, that's the words of the Obama administration's. So if we're going to create these BRT systems and we're focusing on dedicated lanes, we're focusing on the wrong thing. We need to be focusing on the ITS systems, the queue jumps, the way that they can move ahead of traffic if they're really going to be successful.